What's up, everyone? James Lynch here. So in that Dana White interview that I talked about in the last video, he's also asked about Arman Tsarukyan and what is next for him. Obviously, a lot of fans upset that he's not in that interim title fight with Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje. We don't know what's next for him. And if you look at the division right now, a lot of fighters are booked up at 155. Arman now taking a grappling match against Cheryl Bullitt, which, listen, great that he's keeping active, but I think a lot of fans want to see him back in the cage. But here's Oscar Willis. Again, really good stuff here from Oscar. I'll leave the full link in the description here. Oscar asking Dana White, as a lot of fans have wanted to ask Dana White, what's going on with Arman? What's next for him? Here's Dana White's response to that, and then I'll give my take on his reply here in just a second. So let's have a listen.
I don't want to keep riling you up here, but on a different topic, the Arman Tsarukyan thing, right? I understand, because it's not just the weight cut thing, you know, the fan incident, he headbutted Dan Hooker. Like, there's a lot with Arman that's kind of...
I think Paddy Pimblett laid it out pretty well.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Paddy sort of gave me the layup there. But what does he have to do, right? Obviously, he is ranked #1.
He's here. You know what I didn't do? We haven't cut him. We're not sideways with him. We don't dislike him.
I'm sure he's aware of where you feel about it right now as well.
Yeah, well, listen, it is what it is. It's not like I've confronted Arman, and you know, Arman's a man. He knows how this played out. He knows how this all went down behind the scenes. He knows.
Yeah.
We all fucking know. I don't ever talk about this shit publicly because you guys are like a bunch of fucking old ladies, and you know, anything that you can get clicks on and fucking keep bringing up and all this shit. A lot of man shit happens in this fucking business, and we keep it between us men, and we, you know, it is what it is.
I did enjoy you.
Now you guys will come out and say, oh, why is he getting... Arman knows. Arman knows.
I did enjoy one time you said that in MMA, these stories leak out no matter what you do, but in boxing, it's like you can say anything and fucking nothing.
So true.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Is it just like MMA started later, so it's got more of a gossipy culture?
I think that because of the early days of...
So anyways, that's pretty much what he says on Arman, which he doesn't really say much. He just says that Arman knows what he did. He doesn't say specifically what it was. A lot of people speculating that he was going to miss weight, and that's why he didn't want to take the fight, because, well, I mean, the theory out there is that Arman wasn't going to make weight, and then he wouldn't have been able to fight for a title, so he didn't want to fight Islam if there was no title on the line. But then Arman's side is saying that he had a back injury, and that's why he didn't want to fight, and that the doctors wouldn't clear him, and then Dana says, well, I don't know. Again, that's been debated for the last year as to what actually happened here. The clear thing is that Dana's not happy with him. Dana says he doesn't like them. I mean, he obviously doesn't like him if he's not giving him these opportunities. So, you know, the thing I wonder about this is, like, what is going to be, what's it going to take for Arman to get that title shot again? Because I honestly thought he beat Dan Hooker. He's going to fight again. I thought, okay, I get him messing up at the 311 and the fight not taking place. And I'm also aware, and people remind me all the time, it was a big pay-per-view and it really jeopardized things. The one thing I will say about that, though, and I've said this in other videos, they should have had a backup ready for that fight, not because Arman's a liability or Islam's liability in that fight, but just because it's such a high-profile fight, like, you want it to continue. Now, they ended up pulling Moicano. He fights Islam. We know Islam beats him in the very first round. It wasn't really much of a fight, but why wasn't Charles Oliveira the backup? That was something I wondered back then. That maybe would have made things a bit easier on Arman because they had someone to back up. They used to do backups all the time. You don't see it as much. Even Arman himself was a backup for the title fight that took place later on that year, and he made weight and everything was good. And he kind of showed Dana, like, look, this is my good grace here. So, but now the other thing I wonder is, if he doesn't headbutt Dan Hooker, is he going to get an opportunity at an interim title? Did he kind of redeem himself? I wonder if Dana, again, said, you know, okay, well, now you're at the back of the line because of this, regardless of how the fight with Hooker goes. So I wonder that too. But I don't know. I just, like, you know, Dana talks about, you know, this is man stuff. This is, you know, the fight business. Like, I don't know. I just think, like, it sucks that Arman did all that stuff, and I'm not defending him. That's obviously something that's keeping him back from doing this. But don't we want to see the best fight the best? Like, that's the part that kind of bothers me a bit, where it's like, we're not, like, Gaethje and Pimblett are not, they're top fighters, but are they as good as Arman? I don't know. I want to see that question answered. I want to see what happens if that fight ends up taking place. So a little bit disappointing Dana doesn't really answer. Like, it would have been great if Dana's like, hey, listen, like, this is what you got to do, Arman. You got to call someone out. You got to have one more fight. That would be good, but we didn't get any of that. And, you know, I like Oscar a lot, but, like, would have been nice to get the follow-up saying, well, what does he need to do exactly? Because he didn't answer the question. He's just like, Arman knew what he did, and, you know, we didn't cut him, so he should be thankful we didn't do that, which I guess is true. But I want to know when he's fighting. Like, what's he doing? And again, I've talked about this before on my live streams, but let's look at the rankings right now. There's like 1 or 2 fights for him that make any sort of sense. Like, Gamrot's the only one that's available, right? Because everyone else here is booked. And then outside that, you've got, like, Dariush doesn't have a fight book, but he just lost. That doesn't make any sense. You've got Moicano, although they trained at the same gym, but again, wouldn't be like just a fight to keep him busy. Someone mentioned on my live stream this morning, Manel Torres, who absolutely does not deserve a fight with Arman, but again, it may be an option. And then you got Fares Ziam, who won as well. But again, I don't think the UFC's in the business of making that fight. But I said this in the other video, like Arman would just do himself a lot of favors of not taking these grappling matches and just asking for fights. Like, give me anyone. Because listen, if you're the champ, you got to fight anyone anyways. So why does it matter? Like I know some people would say, well, does he want to risk losing a fight? Like, listen, if you're the best in the world, you should be able to fight anyone. Shouldn't matter. So I think Arman should be doing more media, getting the word out there, saying, hey, listen, like get the word out to Dana, show that you're being proactive about trying to be active. And trying to compete as much as you can. Like if I were Arman right now, I would be asking for Gamrot. And I know Gamrot came off a pretty one-sided loss to Charles Oliveira, but you could at least make the argument, hey, this guy beat me a couple of years ago. I thought I won. A lot of people felt like he won too. Let's do that fight. Apparently last year, the rumors are that he turned down a Gamrot fight. That was a bad decision, right? So that's another thing that was not discussed here, but I do wonder if like that's, something else that they're looking at. But listen, we all want to see Arman fight the best. I want to see Arman fight Ilya. There's also a conspiracy theory that like Dana's keeping Arman away because they're worried if Arman beats Ilya, it's not going to be, good for the division or whatever. Well, Ilya's out right now, so it shouldn't really matter, right? So I think like you could have put Arman in an interim title fight, even with the quick turnaround from his last fight. But yeah, like I said, like I think it would be great if Dana would have come out and given an exact like idea of like what he's looking like if he says like he needs at least 2 more fights or 1 more fight or whatever. Like I want to get that information out there. That would be the good thing on Dana's end. And second, let's book him a fight like as soon as possible. Let's do that. If you don't want him to fight, at least use him. Fans want to watch him fight. Fans want to watch him compete. Get him in there right away. In fact, they should put him on the same card of Gaethje and Arman, because if something happens in that fight, Arman could step in as a backup. There we go. Easy solution there. Not Arman grappling Cherubullet. That does nothing for him at all other than keep him a little bit active. Against a guy he'll never fight, right? Cherubullet's a middleweight. Arman's a lightweight. Doesn't make any sense. And then on the Arman end, dude, put your hand up. Quit talking about, things are unfair or whatever. And I get his frustration. I do. I really do. But you got to be active too. You got to go out there and be proactive. And unfortunately, all fighters, I'll say 99% of fighters, they have no leverage. It's the UFC, what they decide to do. It's a business. The UFC is going to do what's best for business, right? I've talked about this time and time again. The 1% is your John Jones and McGregor, who kind of, the rules don't really apply to them. They kind of do what they want. But Arman's got to be proactive about this too. Like, talk about, go on social media, do some interviews. I want to fight. Give me an opponent. Doesn't matter who. I'll fight whoever. Arman does that. He's going to get in the good graces of the UFC, in my opinion, I think. And I think it's good for his career too to stay active, because the worst part about Arman right now is not even the fact that he's not fighting. It's that he is in the prime of his career and it's kind of being wasted a little bit. One fight in the last couple of years, right? He fought Oliveira in 2024. He fights Dan Hooker in 2025. Is this turning into Colby where he's fighting once a year? Like, I don't want to see that. This is a guy who's 29 years old. He might not even be in the prime of his career. Prime usually is, 30, 31, depending on the fighter. But I want to see him compete. And I just think that it's just such an unfortunate thing, because it's not like he's injured. It's not like he's dealing with anything legally, like outside the cage. Like, with John Jones, like that was part of the reason he was out for a while, was because he was dealing with stuff outside the cage. There's none of that with Arman. He's just not fighting because the promotion feels like he needs to prove himself more. And this is where I think Arman and his management need to be proactive here and say, give me a fight. So I just hope this gets booked soon. It just bothers me that we're not watching the best fight the best right now. I think Gaethje and Patty's a fun fight. I'm really intrigued to see how that one goes, but it's not Arman. And Arman to me is the number one contender in the weight class. And that's what I really want to see here. So yeah, just kind of my thoughts on Dana's response to this. A little bit disappointing. We didn't get a little bit more clarity as to what he needs to do, who he needs to fight. Like, it would be great if Dana's like, hey, listen, we have a fight here with Michaush Gamrot lined up for him. He's the only guy that's available. That's the highest ranking right now. I would like Arman to fight him, and he does that. Then we could talk about the title. Give us something. But like, he kind of just like talks very vaguely about Arman and then doesn't give an answer. And I don't know. To me, you're number one contender in your weight class. I think fans want to get a little bit more clarity in that. So yeah, no real new information here from Dana. Let's hope Arman gets a fight book soon. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Who do you want to see Arman fight next? What should his next move be? Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @LynchOnSports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.